I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime magazine. I'm here today with Gordon Lawson, CEO at Conceal, provider of an intelligence-grade zero-trust technology that protects global companies of all sizes from malware and ransomware. To learn more about our sponsor Conceal, visit conceal.io. Also joining us is Terry Oehring, CEO for the U.S. at Solis Security, a provider of best-in-class managed cybersecurity services and incident response to small businesses around the world. Terry, Gordon, welcome. Great to have you both with us today.
Thanks, Steve. Great to be here.
Appreciate it, Steve.
So Terry, to get started, tell us about your background. It's great to see a cybersecurity CEO with so much real-world experience. You've been a founder, board member, CTO, security leader. Give us your backstory.
Well, as CEO of Solis, it's been really exciting to see the growth in the cybersecurity space. I started the company in 2003, and we've built it up from there. Initially started doing security services for financial institutions, banks, helping them build out robust security programs. And then over the last 20 years, we've really expanded into every vertical, because every vertical needs a security program. Every company in those different verticals have risks that they're trying to address. And so over the last 20 years, just seeing just the change in the cybersecurity space between the different attack vectors and how the attackers work, seeing the different tools and technologies that have been developed. It's just been really fascinating to grow and be part of that entire experience.
So Gordon, set us up for today's conversation. We want to cover cyber insurance, protecting small businesses, and of course, vendor and service provider relationships, which are critical in our industry, and why we have Terry with us today.
At Conceal, we're working and about to publicly announce a partnership with Solis. And I think, just as Terry mentioned, his expertise not only in the cyber insurance realm, but also with small and medium businesses across all verticals is critical. I think there's a lack of attention that's paid to the importance of securing small business. And I know Terry, for example, does a lot of work with school districts as well. These are targets for threat actors. And, oftentimes they don't have the same resources. They certainly don't have the same resources as a Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 company, but they still have to have enough tools in place to be able to defend themselves and to be able to get some level of cyber insurance. And I think firms like Solis are at the forefront of providing that capability. And it's something we just don't talk about enough. And when those companies get breached or get attacked, it's devastating consequences, because a lot of times it will affect young people or it's the victims in this can be it can be really catastrophic for them. So I think Terry's firm is doing a critical role in defending against these very novel threats.
So Terry, we read a lot about cyber insurance in the media. We know what it is. If you want to, chime in with your description of cyber insurance, why it's important. And what I'd really be interested to hear from you is, in the context of all of the cybersecurity that's available to small businesses, and of course, they only have so much budget, where does cyber insurance fit? How important is it?
Small businesses in general just tend to be a very active threat surface or an active target of the threat actors, mainly because, as you know, most small businesses don't have robust budgets that they can put into cybersecurity programs. And so they oftentimes will have gaps that they don't even know exist. You combine that with the fact that the whole threat landscape is constantly changing. And just having the ability to stay up with those changes is really hard for an SMB that may not have the dedicated cyber resources or a good partnership. So just staying ahead of those, or even staying current with those, can be really hard. And so we see that a lot with a bunch of the cyber breach cases that we work. That it's great companies, good people trying to do the best they can, but just staying ahead of the different changing threats is just really, really hard for them. Cyber insurance really plays a critical role, because for what is somewhat of a nominal cost to the business, they can have an insurance program in place that, when they experience those catastrophic events like a ransomware attack, cyber insurance is there not just to help them cover some of the costs, which is critical, but to have the resources, to have the right people to support them, whether it's a team like ours that does incident response, whether it's the lawyers that get brought in, just having good communication. Cyber insurance, I've seen time and time again, it literally saves a lot of these businesses from going out of business. So it's pretty paramount. And it's for a pretty, nominal cost in the grand scheme of business.
So Gordon touched on, K through 12. We have a cybercrime wire feed we put out. I don't think there's been one day in the past year where we haven't seen an attack on the K through 12 sector. Is that part of the, quote, small group that we're talking about that you protect, Terry?
Yeah, we do a bunch of work with K through 12 and really that SLED channel in general. I would even expand it outside of that. K through 12, though, is in particular, it's fascinating because you've got obviously a ton of students that are creating the threatscape, right? They're surfing, they're doing a lot of stuff on computers. And these schools have historically been underfunded and not been able to invest. They don't have budget, so they haven't been able to invest in programs that are robust that can protect against the different threats. Obviously, working with Gordon and Conceal, they have an amazing program that's going to help these schools at a very reasonable rate, at a cost basis, a great ROI, helping them to really mitigate that front vector, which is the end user, right? Clicking on stuff and downloading stuff. So it's important, but it's definitely, someone we work a lot of cases with a lot of different school districts. And so it's a challenge.
So Gordon, Conceal has a great reputation in the Fortune 500, Global 2000. I know you're working with a lot of large enterprises, but you also work with a lot of small to mid-sized businesses. And when you get involved with a lot of those companies, they don't have a CISO. Very often, they don't have full-time IT security staff. They're lucky if they have a CIO or dedicated IT staff. How important is that middle piece, that partner that sits between you and the end user?
It's the lifeblood of our business, Steve. The partner, whether it's an MSP, an MSSP plus, like Terry's firm, where it has full incident response capabilities as well. These are critical for us because they're the trusted advisor to that SLED customer, to that smaller business. And so, it's important for us. We not only have to build that trust through a technical proof of value with the end customer, we have to prove our value with the partner. It's a very symbiotic relationship that we are constantly working to make sure that we're doing everything we can to show value on both sides. And it's always it's important for us to stay at the cutting edge, like any cybersecurity company, but especially because the threat actors will evolve their tactics. I think almost they'll evolve them in a very, very sophisticated way. Let's just take the students in a K-12 organization. You could argue that maybe they're a little bit more of a sophisticated cyber user because they have so many different applications that they're running through every day. They're doing their schoolwork, they're browsing the web, doing all these different things. But in many ways, they're also more susceptible because they don't necessarily know that invoice link or that credential theft that might look really appealing to someone who's in their teens, that they don't have necessarily the muscle memory to know that is fraudulent and could cause catastrophic damage on the network. So we need to provide that preventative detection layer in order to have a fighting chance of defending against these threats. And that's what we're really, really focused on. And firms like Solis that we partner with, they are critical to implementing and making sure that the defenses are up to speed to defend against it.
So Terry, Gordon touches on awareness, and I want to ask you about that. And I'll start with a statistical fact. More than half of all cyber attacks strike small businesses. So clearly they're vulnerable. So my question to you is, do you think most small business CEOs are aware of this, how vulnerable they are? And are we getting any better? Are we in a place now where most of these CEOs of small businesses are protecting themselves? And if not fully, at least any better than they were, 5 years ago?
The challenge is that as a CEO, like you understand the operational parts of your business, the P&L and things like that, understanding what controls you need to have in place, understanding what the threats are that are out there. I mean, we all see it in the news. I'd like to think that people are pretty aware of kind of what's happening with ransomware and wire fraud and the different types of theft and the different ways that people are getting in, just because it's pretty prevalent in the news. But knowing that they have a problem they need to address, but knowing how to address the problem, I think is a bit of the challenge. And what we're seeing is I mean, I had a call last week with the CEO from one of the SMB customers. Is a case we worked, and he asked me literally, he says like, Terry, I've got 5 proposals from 5 different companies, and they're offering 10 different solutions, and none of them are the same, and they all look different. And he goes, I don't know what I'm supposed to pick. What's going to give me the best ROI? And I think that's the challenge is for CEOs is to try to make that determination on, where do they get the best ROI? Like what money should they spend? What's right for their business? And I think it's hard for, a CEO who's thinking about the business aspect to find a trusted partner that they can count on that's going to give them that good advice that's going to be right for their business. And so when we look at customers and we're having this same discussion, we talk about what it looks like to have a security roadmap. It's unique to every customer because every business is different and they have different networks and different software and some are heavily cloud-based, some are on-prem. And it's just important that we look at what they have and what they need specific to that business, and then just help them to drive an ROI from that. And so, typically there's some low-hanging fruit that are free, some stuff that's policy changes, getting some tools that are, again, give them a great ROI. I think that's the challenge that I think CEOs have right now is just getting that sage advice that they can count on.
Yeah. Well, ROI, Gordon, how about just keeping your business running? I mean, we cover every type of, hack, cyber attack, anything from DDoS attacks, straight through, you name it. But ransomware is the killer. Ransomware is the one that shuts your business down. Ransomware is the one that small businesses really can't recover if they're not prepared, if they don't have a go-to resource. You sponsor a report that we put out on a quarterly basis. There's a lot of other resources that are out there. Should CEOs of small businesses be taking some time to educate themselves and understand just how deadly ransomware could be?
Absolutely. And I think that they do understand it. I think that there's, but I think the greater education is always beneficial, Steve, for sure. I think the other piece of this too, and, Terry kind of hit on it, is if you're a CEO and you're trying to evaluate multiple different technologies, well, there's a couple things here. Obviously, get a good partner that is an expert that does this day in and day out. That's the first thing I would say. The other thing is, look at solutions that work with your other investments. And that's another piece that we're really focused on here is building out these an ecosystem of integrations. We never want someone to say, just because you bought X it doesn't work with Conceal. I just think that that's a fallacy. There's no one technology out here that's going to solve everything. It's a layered approach. And there's some critical ones out there, but you need to make sure that at least your tools are talking to each other and working constructively together. Certainly not doing anything that could open up more vulnerabilities just because you installed something.
So Terry, if I'm a small business and I reach out to Solis, what am I going to find out? What is it that you can do for me for maybe, a small business who's trying to take security more seriously, but they don't have the resources?
The thing I think that I'm excited about or proud of my team that we've been able to do is because we're owned by a large cyber insurance provider, it's afforded us the opportunity to really have access to a different set of tools and information that we probably wouldn't have had before, we joined the CSC family. And so the thing that is intriguing with Solis in particular is that we've got a large team of incident response professionals that handle 1,000+ breaches a year. And then separately, we have a large team of proactive cybersecurity engineers that go into these SMBs that we're talking about, the school districts, and help them put in preventative, tools and measures like Conceal and other tools. What's fascinating for us, though, is that because we do 1,000+ cases a year, breaches a year that we're seeing, we have the opportunity to see every new attack vector, every new mechanism, every payload, every delivery protocol, all the different angles that they're taking. We're seeing it on a daily basis. And we're then learning from that and applying that wisdom into the proactive side of our business. So we've got over 100 employees here in the US. I've got another 50 between Australia and London. So we've got a global team that we can respond 24/7. And being able to learn from what the bad guys are doing, applying that to the tools and the systems and resources that we apply on the proactive side is pretty compelling. And then you layer on top of that different threat feeds that we get, some that are commercially available, some that are coming out of our government through relationships we have there. It gives us a competitive advantage. And then I think you layer on top of that just a strong concept of business acumen. We look at every customer and we just try to help them make really informed, good decisions. It's a really easy conversation to have with the school district, why it makes total sense to use Conceal, right? Because it's the right ROI, right value for them, protecting them in that layered approach. And then we can give them advice on how to layer other tools and, give them somewhat of a holistic plan without it, breaking the budget, which is always everyone's concern.
So Gordon, I'm curious, Solis has a very impressive firm. I didn't realize they had that many people. How do you work with partners? So, they're interested, they see the value in what you're doing, they want to become a partner. How do you train them up? How long does that take? And what kind of support does Conceal provide, on an ongoing basis?
We have a 24/7 support model as well for all of our partners and end customers. But I think that, as Terry described his business, Steve, that's the kind of partner we want. Being at the forefront of what the attack vectors look like, actually doing incident response. From my perspective, that totally validates our approach to the market and what our technology brings. These are subject matter experts that really understand how threat actors operate. And so obviously we're open. We have, dozens of partners around the world now that we're working with on this. But I think that Solis and Terry's firm is really the gold standard for the partnerships that we want to build moving forward. They bring expertise, they bring scale, and those are all really good things when you're a cyber vendor.
So Terry, what was it like getting up to speed on the Conceal technology? How long did it take, and how many people were involved on your side?
It was really fast. I mean, one thing that Gordon mentioned, they have a great team that supported us. One of the teams that we have within the company, we have a group of folks that they literally specialize in doing due diligence and really diving into the tools and understanding what's going to bring the best value add, again, back out into the customer segment that we're supporting. So they started using it right away. It was incredibly simple, which I think is one of the huge value adds. We have a competitive solution that we've been running historically, and the team made the comment when they went through the due diligence exercise, they're like, why didn't we just use this from the very beginning? This is super easy. It's easy to deploy, to support, to maintain, versus a competitive solution that was very complex, took a lot of work. It's been a great experience, and I'm excited just what it's going to do for our customers, because again, at the end of the day, that's what we're here really for, is providing those best value-added solutions to the customers that are easy to support and maintain and bring that ROI. So we're excited about it.
Well, we have a lot of small businesses who tune into us, so thank you, Terry, for joining us today, and I hope you'll come back on. Gordon, we'll look forward to the next episode with you.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Steve Morgan, founder of Cybersecurity Ventures and editor-in-chief at Cybercrime magazine. This interview is sponsored by Conceal, provider of an intelligence-grade zero trust technology that protects global companies of all sizes from malware and ransomware. To learn more, visit conceal.io. You can keep up with all of our media at cybercrimemagazine.com.